So where do mindfulness come in then? I'm sure you all recognize him, right, if you are here for this talk. Yes? Yes, right. So John Kabat-Zinn said that the mindfulness awareness that emerged from paying attention on the purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally by the unfolding of experience moment by moment. Now, this has a lot of meaning when it comes to eating. Did you all practice the mindfulness eating just now? Some of you participated, right? Now, when you eat mindfully, you're actually being present with your food. And by being very present with your food, actually you are able to get a lot more joy out of that smaller moments. Do you all agree? Yeah? So sometimes like you go and watch a movie, you eat popcorn, right? Actually, you don't even know what you're putting in your mouth, isn't it? Correct? Before you know it, wow, the whole popcorn gone already. Then you feel very guilty, right? But no, sorry, that's my ED talking. So raisins. That day I was in a session with Jennifer Aniston, and we did mindful eating with raisins. I never realized that one raisin can taste different from another raisin in the same box. But interestingly, it is true. Yeah? Actually, all of us would do mindful eating, especially when you eat durians, right? Correct? You eat durians, you take a pause, you smell first, you look at the color, right? Then you put in your mouth, wow, this one is bitter, this one is watery. Huh? Especially if it's Mao Shang Wang. You pay a lot of money, all the more you eat very mindfully, isn't it? Huh? So, by doing that, actually, it's good because you won't overeat and you are really able to be present with the food you are eating. Now, when we are eating, sometimes we also have a lot of thoughts running through our mind, especially those that do the mindful eating exercise, right? You say that, oh, I don't like this, it's sour, it's spicy, or I like this, it's sweet, or it's aromatic. So, by being present, also, we are able to watch all these thoughts that are going through our brain. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, like clouds floating by. And then we can decide to respond or not respond to it. And a lot of this training is very important in people with binge eating. Of course, sometimes when we are mindful of our food, we also have to ask ourselves, are we going to be present with our food or with our family, right? So I think Dr. Ong taught me that before. I had high tea with him. Actually, throughout the whole high tea, I couldn't focus on my food. Because he's my senior, right, you got to give him a lot of attention. So I was eating, I don't know what I was putting in my mouth. So he said, oh, it's like that one, social occasion. Sometimes we have to make that decision to choose to be with our friends or with our food. So sometimes even if you have like one moment of mindful eating is okay. So maybe 95% of the meal you don't notice what you're eating. But 5% you notice, I think that's better than nothing, right? So what is the evidence for mindfulness in terms of eating disorder? Now, I got this from a US study. They looked at mindfulness on helping veterans. Actually, the evidence is a bit so-so. It's not fantastic yet. Yeah. But the strongest evidence, like I repeatedly mentioned, is really more for binge eating among the eating disorders. Now, if you try to use mindfulness for people with anorexia nervosa, you're not going to get very far, I can assure you that. Although it is helpful if they encapsulates the values of mindfulness in the first place. Now, when a patient comes to my ward for treatment, if she is the kind that everything, no, I tell you it's very hard to work with the patient. But if this person is more open-minded, like she say, okay, I'll try to take this, I'll try to eat that, then again, already the prognosis is a bit better. And studies have confirmed that if a patient anorexia do embrace some mindfulness values at the start, the outcome is a bit better. Yeah, but it's not something we can intervene, or at least the literature don't show that it's something we can intervene at this point. Now, a lot of people with binge eating disorder, right, they have a lot of negative experiences where mindfulness can be of help. So they may have suffered from child obesity, there was a lot of teasing, family members could have commented on their body shape and size, right? And this is something very important for all of us here to be very careful. Sometimes you might make comments about little kids without really realizing the implication, right? Have you all seen like a nephew or niece and say, wow, you put on so much weight, correct? Have you ever said that before? Sometimes you are very tempted to say that. Better not, Actually, you don't know what are the ramifications in the future. So my nephew did put on a bit of weight, but I also don't dare to, I don't want to say anything. I just say, oh, okay, maybe you should choose other types of food. Yeah. So don't be too triggering, right? Yeah. So in people with eating disorder, in terms of the psychological aspect, they have a lot of body shaming. They're very critical about themselves. And they have a lot of rigid beliefs like, oh, I must, even in people who are overweight. Now, people who are overweight and people who are overweight with binge eating disorder, the difference is that the people who are overweight and has binge eating disorder, they're a lot more critical. they're a lot more unhappy about themselves because they have some of them have a lot of rigid beliefs like my weight must be low, my shape is like that, therefore my self-worth is poor, or I cannot control, that's why I'm a lousy person. And they have a lot of difficult emotions as well. And we look at the binge eating cycle, right? If you look at the binge eating cycle, so they try to have a lot of control first, and then when they start to lose control, they control, they cannot control anymore, they lose control, they start to eat. And then after they eat, there's a lot of negative cognition like I failed, I'm useless, forget it, I must well eat more. Or then they continue to binge, and after that they continue to feel very guilty. Then they go back to control and control and control again. So you kind of get it, they control, they lose control, they binge eat, they feel guilty, and then the whole cycle keep repeating themselves. So in the modern techniques, in the newer therapy for binge eating disorder, moving away from the ones that I talk about like CBT, IPT, these are the ones that actually uses mindfulness in their application. These are like dialectical behavioral therapy, compassion-focused therapy, which later speakers will talk about, acceptance and commitment therapy. So all these newer kinds of therapy actually embraces mindfulness as a very important core component. And they are gaining a lot of popularity in helping people with eating disorders. So to give some example is that when they go for this kind of therapy, they'll be taught to eat mindfully, slowly, being very present, being non-judgmental to these thoughts that they have. They're taught to be very mindful to their own body sensations, like they are taught how to feel the sense of hunger, the sense of fullness, how to slow down eating. Because in binge eating, it's really like gobbling up all the food. How to teach them how to be calm, how to reduce reactivity to impulses, how to take that pause between reacting and to respond instead, and to have a lot of compassion towards themselves. So what if I'm not the kind of shape or size that I want to be? Is it okay? Can I love myself? And the answer is definitely a yes. So if you check out the literature, in different centers all over the world, when they use mindfulness, they don't always follow these steps or the kind of therapy I talk about. They try to integrate it in various ways. That makes research a bit challenging because it's not so standardized. But nonetheless, it's really embraced in many centers all over the world. And I do believe that in Singapore, we should try to use more of these newer techniques to help our patients. And I think we slowly are adopting, especially the acceptance and commitment therapy, which we do practice in Sengkang General Hospital.